Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are Group 7 and we'll be discussing about H&M's greenwashing scandal. Today, we will be going through, firstly, the facts of the case, followed by two ethical dilemmas, followed on by the moral reasonings of the stakeholders, and lastly, the recommendations as well as the group's opinions. Here's the events leading up to the scandal. To begin, we see that the traditional shopping experience was actually rather slow. Furthermore, it was a rare occasion for people to purchase clothes. Next, we see that people could only find inspirations through fashion magazines, fashion shows, as well as inspirations through the televisions. Next, we see that clothes were only released periodically. Therefore, they were rather expensive. This resulted in the fact that purchasing clothes was an investment. Next, following in 1947, we see that H&M was founded. This brought about the new idea of the fast fashion industry. We see that the fast fashion industry actually opposed vastly from the traditional shopping experience. It not only included rapid production cycles, it also included of low production costs, high volume production, as well as high inventory turnover. Other than that, this resulted in more affordable apparels to be produced at a faster pace throughout the year. Last but not least, we go on to today, where we see that the sustainability trends includes of global warming as well as environmental conscious consumers. We see that because there's so many more companies that are focusing on sustainability as well as the high demand for increased sustainability, therefore, H&M has adopted the Higgs Index practice. This Higgs Index practice capitalizes on the transparency of H&M's. This resulted in H&M's increased competitive advantage as well as driven profitability for H&M.
Thank you. And now, just what is the Higgs Index? The Higgs Index is a tool that was developed by the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, or the SAC, to measure sustainability in the apparel industry. And H&M's particular use of the Higgs Index was promoted as a benchmark for sustainability claims and used to market products such as the Conscious Collection. And now the scandal mainly came about when there was a lawsuit by Chelsea Commodore, a New York resident, where she filed a lawsuit with the New York Federal Court claiming that H&M misrepresented the nature of its products at the expense of customers who pay a price premium in the belief that they are buying truly sustainable and environmentally friendly clothing. And as a result of this lawsuit, courts actually did an investigation report where it was revealed that H&M's self-reported Higgs Index was often inaccurate or inflated, and the company was not fully transparent about its environmental impact. Just a few examples of this was the particular item of clothing where it was stated to have been produced with 30% less water than normal, but after clicking the link where it will bring you to the Higgs Index website, it will actually show that it was actually produced with 31% more water instead of less water, which was actually worse than more conventional materials, and the data was widely misrepresented, with 31% more becoming 30% less, which showed that H&M was actually showing incorrect data to its customers. Another thing that was shown is that the Higgs sustainability profile was used to showcase a lot of different products and being labeled as baseline, but once you dig deep, you can see that baseline products actually don't have that much of an impact on the environment, and only about 11 items out of 337 were actually shown to have a significant reduced impact. And other baseline items like this pajama set that was shown on the H&M website is listed as sustainable, but with all the impact values of 0. So it's basically as if there was no sustainable effort at all. Just to give a bit of context about the case, this is a simulation of the lawsuit that happened, with me being the judge and Chelsea being Esther. Ms. Commodore, you're bringing a lawsuit against H&M, claiming that they misled consumers. Could you explain your case?
Yes, Your Honor. I, along with many other consumers, trusted H&M's claims that their Conscious Choice collection was sustainable and environmentally friendly. They marketed it as a greener option, but after looking into it, I found that these claims were misleading. H&M weren't as transparent as they made it seem.
What exactly did H&M do that you believe was misleading?
They used sustainability metrics, specifically the Higgs Index, to back their claims, but they only showed part of the picture. They made it look like their Conscious Choice products were significantly better for the environment than they actually are. I believe that this gave consumers like myself a false impression of the environmental impact of these clothes.
So you say that H&M's marketing implied a level of sustainability that wasn't accurate?
Exactly, Your Honor. I believe H&M took advantage of consumers who genuinely care about sustainability. We deserve to know the truth about the products we're buying, not just half-truths used to drive sales.
Thank you, Ms. Commodore. After deliberation, we've noted that the plaintiff has mischaracterized H&M's claims and that the retailer had qualified the claims such that the reasonable consumers would not be misled by them. Case dismissed. And such as the events that happened post-scandal, the outcome of the lawsuit was that the US District Court actually dismissed the case in favor of H&M, citing that the plaintiffs did not provide sufficient evidence to support their allegations. However, this was not very short-lived, as H&M was actually sued again in a separate class action lawsuit for the same reasons, with a different plaintiff citing that the customers were misled into purchasing sustainable products due to deceptive marketing. The court once again ruled in H&M's favor, and such the future resulted in, despite winning these legal battles, H&M actually continues to face scrutiny over its sustainability claims.
Okay. For the first ethical dilemma, we will explore H&M's misleading marketing in using the Higg Index to promote its conscious choice line. The ethical dilemma is it right for H&M to use sustainability metrics like HISP in marketing campaigns to give consumers the false impression that H&M is more sustainable than it actually is? Through this ethical issue, we'll also explore how H&M may have been greenwashing. But firstly, what is greenwashing? It occurs when companies spend more time on promoting and marketing green practices instead of implementing such practices. H&M had practiced greenwashing through marketing its conscious choice line. H&M had used HISP to measure the sustainability of over 600 garments on its websites, presenting these garments as part of its conscious choice line. H&M claimed that each product in the line contains at least 50% more sustainable materials like organic cotton and recycled polyester. These claims were displayed on H&M's website to support their green declarations. Yet, an investigation by Quartz revealed that these sustainability profiles were misleading, with more than half of the products portrayed as being better for the environment than they actually were. Now we'll use the 4 questions under the marketing framework to examine if H&M's sustainability marketing techniques were ethical. The first question is exchange voluntary? This question requires us to examine if there were real alternative choices available to consumers. Consumers had perceived H&M's conscious choice products to be more sustainable than that of other competitors. This is an illusion of a lack of choice for sustainable products that pressured consumers into buying H&M's products. Thus, their purchase cannot be said to be entirely voluntary, as there were alternative choices to customers. The second question is consent to exchange informed? This question requires us to examine if consumers were deceived into buying products because of a lack of knowledge on the consumer's end. Consumers may not know what went into the calculations of the HISP and thus were made to believe that the products are more sustainable than they are. Thus, their consent to exchange is supposedly less informed. The third question is, are people truly benefited? This question requires us to examine if consumers are buying products that value add to them. H&M's frequent sustainable product launches incline consumers to buy H&M's products immediately or risk them being sold out. Yet, these products may not be what consumers truly desire and thus are thrown out after a couple of uses. Thus, consumers may not truly benefit from the products. The fourth question is, are there competing values? This question requires us to examine if there are competing social values that were jeopardized by H&M's marketing practices. H&M's focus on pushing out fresh products in rapid fashion cycles conflicts with the social value of sustainability. Negative externalities like water pollution and textile waste are borne by third parties living near H&M's factories and manufacturing outlets. Thus, the competing value here is sustainability. All these point to H&M's unethical marketing strategies that were displayed through their advertising of their conscious choice line, which included the use of HISP. I'll now pass on the time to Esther to discuss ethical dilemma 2.
Moving on to ethical dilemma 2. The ethical question here is, can H&M genuinely claim to prioritize sustainability while continuing to engage in fast fashion practices that are fundamentally unsustainable? So first, let's define fast fashion and sustainability. Fast fashion is the quick manufacture of inexpensive apparel that results in excessive waste, damage to the environment, and worker exploitation. And sustainability refers to practices that are environmentally friendly, socially responsible, and economically viable. We will be analyzing two frameworks from the utilitarian perspective as well as principles-based. So what is utilitarianism? Utilitarianism is a decision that maximizes the overall well-being of the greatest number of people. And so can H&M's practices be considered sustainable? We first need to look at the impact of their actions. From an economic standpoint, H&M were able to increase sales, profitability, and market share. They were able to maintain competitive advantage and meet consumer demands at low cost. Furthermore, they were also able to create jobs and job opportunities in developing countries. However, the long-term downsides heavily outweighs the perceived short-term upsides. Here's why. Firstly, we will be talking about the negative impacts of H&M's fast fashion model. Firstly, H&M's behind-the-scenes fast fashion activities were extremely harmful to the environment. The exaggeration of the environmental statistics on HISP gave consumers a false sense of environmental responsibility. H&M's fast fashion practices contribute to 1 million tons of clothing waste annually, which takes up 200 years to decompose, releasing harmful chemicals into the environment, causing respiratory and cardiovascular health issues. It also clogged drainage systems, exacerbating flooding and led to waterborne diseases. Secondly, consumer confidence. When the incident was revealed, many consumers felt deceived, leading to a lack of confidence as well as widespread skepticism. Furthermore, consumers even went on to boycott H&M. The negative press impacted H&M's profitability as they incurred losses as a result of their dishonest business methods. Thirdly, H&M's brand reputation was also affected. H&M were actually sued twice, reflecting a lack of accountability in its approach to sustainability. They were viewed as a company who prioritized profits at the expense of environmental impact, and the lawsuits generated a negative widespread of media coverage and also affected future sales and partnerships. However, we also recognize that there are limitations in qualifying the full extent of these consequences. While the economic benefits derived from increased sales and market share are clear, the long-term environmental and social harms are more complex to measure. However, H&M's scale and severity made it evident that H&M's practices were not aligned with the overall well-being of society. The fundamentals of utilitarianism states that actions should abide by the rules and regulations that promote the greatest good. In this case, H&M's use of deceptive environmental data as well as its continued promotion of fast fashion clearly oppose the value of sustainability and transparency. These activities not only breach ethical principles but also jeopardize the long-term well-being of society and the environment. Thus, within the utilitarian framework, H&M's decision to push fast fashion while making false sustainability promises was unethical. Moving on to principles-based ethics. It highlights the importance of moral duties such as honesty and integrity. One key ethical principle is libertarianism, which states that companies should be free to pursue profits, but it should be done in a non-deceptive and legal manner. However, H&M's use of misleading sustainability claims violated this principle, as their greenwashing tactics falsely portrayed their fast fashion practices as environmentally friendly. By compromising consumer trust through deceptive marketing, H&M acted unethically according to the libertarian framework, even if their actions wasn't necessarily illegal. Thus, under the libertarianism framework, H&M's actions are considered unethical. Moving on our last framework, which is the Keynesianism framework, highlights the importance of individual autonomy as well as free will. Companies have a moral obligation to respect individuals' rights by providing accurate information to allow consumers to exercise their autonomy. H&M exploited consumer interest in sustainability, which prevented customers from making informed choices. This violation of honesty and respect makes H&M's actions ethically unacceptable under the principles-based ethics. Therefore, under the Keynesianism framework, H&M's actions are considered unethical. I'll be passing my time on to Jess.
So in this section, I'll be discussing the moral reasoning of two groups of stakeholders in both dilemmas: the directors and the management, and the marketing and the sustainability team. So why did the director and the management act in this way? It seems they overvalued the outcome of maximizing H&M economic gains, increasing company profits, and expanding market shares in both dilemmas. So in the first dilemma, the directors and the management had previously won a similar greenwashing lawsuit in 2022, which likely fostered a belief that they could evade the consequences again. So this mindset led them to prioritize short-term sales and reward over ethical integrity. So in the second dilemma, the director and management saw a 6% rise in net sales in 2023, highlighting the profitability of fast fashion business model. This motivated them to continue similar practices. So now moving on to the next group of stakeholders, the marketing and the sustainability team. It appears that they acted under the pressure of a corporate culture that discourages whistleblowing. So in the first dilemma, the marketing team was aware of the inconsistencies in their messaging, but was influenced by motivated blindness, fearing job loss if they challenged the authoritative corporate environment. They also display indirect blindness, viewing themselves as mere executor of corporate strategy rather than being accountable for the ethical consequences of these strategies. So in the second dilemma, the sustainability team faced motivated blindness due to the pressure to uphold the brand's sustainability reputation. The top-down corporate culture at H&M discouraged them from speaking out, making it more beneficial for them to remain silent. So next, moving on to the recommendation.
Now let us move on to the recommendations. So the first recommendation is a public apology. Throughout the scandal, H&M did not apologize, instead explaining that the misinformation was due to mistakes and technical issues. They further claimed to focus on fixing these issues, improving their sustainability reporting, and assured consumers they will conduct an internal investigation. However, by this point, many consumers had already lost trust in them. We believe that H&M should issue a public apology to acknowledge their fault. This would send a clear message to consumers that they are remorseful and committed to addressing their mistakes. Ultimately, this step would help restore consumer confidence and trust in H&M. An example of a better apology would be like this.
So dear valued customers and stakeholders, we at H&M wants to address recent concerns about our environmental scorecard. We acknowledge that despite our commitment to transparency and sustainability, we misrepresented some information, and for this, we are deeply sorry. Our goal is and has always been to act with integrity. We recognize that we fell short on your expectation and on our own. To rebuild trust, we will implement stricter audits and improve our sustainability reporting to ensure full transparency and accuracy. Thank you for holding us accountable. We are committed to doing better and being fully transparent in our sustainability journey. Sorry.
The second recommendation is to engage stakeholders by establishing advisory panels and creating a feedback loop. Establishing stakeholder advisory panels with consumers, industry experts, and environmental organizations will provide essential third-party guidance. These panels will help H&M align its practices, such as material sourcing and recycling, with ethical and consumer expectations. Moreover, creating a feedback loop will allow H&M to monitor perceptions and adjust the initiatives accordingly based on director stakeholder insights. This approach will reduce greenwashing risks and ensure that H&M sustainability claims reflect real consumer expectations. We believe H&M should actively engage with their stakeholders. By engaging meaningfully with the stakeholders, H&M could cultivate the credibility of its sustainability initiatives and ensure they align with ethical standards. Lastly, we'll be moving to our group opinion. After examining on the two ethical dilemmas of misleading marketing and the fast fashion discussed earlier, our team concludes that the H&M's actions are unethical. Here's why. The first, greed played a significant role. H&M prioritized profits over environmental initiatives. They aim to dominate the fast fashion industry, but at the expense of sustainability. Second, there was a lack of external governance. H&M didn't undergo independent sustainability audits, which led to limited transparency and accountability. Without these checks, their claims of sustainability feel untrustworthy. In short, H&M's drive for profit and absence of oversight show a disregard for ethical practices, harming both the environment and consumer trust. Therefore, our group believes that H&M's actions were unethical. Now we have come to the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.